Well, hello and welcome back to this redo of the review for a interesting Cherry keyboard. For those of you who know, I made a review of this keyboard back over a year ago, and I'm remaking it because the other video I didn't really know what I was talking about, and my opinions on this keyboard have changed drastically since then. So we're just going to do a full redo of the review. And for those of you who are wondering, this is a Cherry G81. So it's a G81. It's in the G81 family. All right, let's go over the original video. Things I want to say about the original video. I kind of praised this keyboard. I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good. I actually like it. I don't like it anymore. I think the reason I praised it so much was because this was the only mechanical keyboard I had at the time, and I was just blindsided by that fact, and I was just like, oh, it's a mechanical keyboard. It is better than any membrane that ever existed. Wrong. I have way better membranes than this, especially now. So also the other video, the original video, went up on April 1st, and I remember some of my friends actually thought it was an April Fool's joke, and it actually wasn't supposed to be. I didn't even realize it was April Fool's that day, but it's kind of funny because it kind of almost seems like it's satire that I'm praising this keyboard, because it's really not that great. So let's go over what this keyboard actually is. So as you can see, it's this very cool layout. This is the one thing I really do like about this keyboard, is the layout. It's in a 10 keyless form factor, but Cherry they integrated the numpad and part of the nav cluster. I think that's what it's called anyways. If I've watched enough Kairosan 22, this keyboard review is probably going to be borrowing a lot from him because he's basically the god of old keyboard reviewers. So, yeah. So they integrated this up above the number pad, and there's a lot less space in between them now. You might think that would be kind of annoying, but it's actually not. It's actually really nice. So if you like a 10 keyless form factor, but you don't want to lose your number pad, this layout is actually really good. And I wish, actually there might be more keyboards or like a different model of this that has this layout with better switches in it. But I wish modern keyboards did this. There was like an option for this. Yeah, because that would actually be really cool. I would actually really like a 10 keyless with the number pad though. So this is an AT keyboard. It is old enough to be an AT, so has an AT plug. So you would need to convert that to PS2 or USB or whatever you need to do to get it working. Or if you want to use this on an actual computer that has AT support, then you can go ahead and do that, I guess. Yeah, so let's go over the build quality. The build quality is alright. The plastic isn't like super thick or anything, but it's like alright. There's actually not as much flex in this case as I've seen some other people complain about old Cherry keyboards. There's actually, I know a lot of people say the old Cherry keyboards actually have really kind of crappy build quality. This, I would say, is actually alright. I would say this is better than a lot of membrane keyboards made today. You know, it sounds pretty solid. The echo you're hearing is actually from my table, not the keyboard. I will say though, one thing I would complain about is that it only uses clips. There's no screws holding this together. But at least these are the big clips. On later Cherry keyboards, I believe, they went to like a bunch of smaller clips, and those have a tendency to break a lot easier. So at least this has the bigger clips. And you got 2 feet, pretty standard stuff. And this was actually made in Germany. So this is quite the earlier one. I believe the later Cherry keyboards, they switched to they switched to a plant somewhere else that wasn't in Germany. So, fun fact. So, let's go over the keycaps now, I guess. I don't actually know what the case plastic is made out of. I'm assuming it's ABS. If it is ABS, there's basically no yellowing on it. Any yellowing you're seeing is from the weird lighting. So the keycaps are... I also don't know. They're not the really good Cherry keycaps. They're, if my camera would focus. There we go. Alright. Alright, I got my camera to focus now. And, so yeah, these aren't the, double shot ABS or whatever the old ones were. These are still pretty thick plastic. This is definitely a lot better than most modern, keycaps. But it's not double shot. I believe this is laser etched. It's not going to show up very well in the camera, but the writing is noticeably fainter than like most things would be. It's definitely not pad printing. You can't feel it, and you definitely can't see the pad around it. I'm pretty sure it's not dye sublimed, because dye sublimed usually looks a lot darker than this, so I'm assuming it's laser etched. But overall, the keycaps, they aren't that bad. Just perhaps not the best that Cherry made. So, but they're still not bad. Now we come to one of the main reasons I wanted to remake this video, and that is the key switch. These are not Cherry MX, these are Cherry MY, which was basically Cherry's extremely low-cost alternative to their normal MX mechanical switches. Basically, this is a glorified kind of leaf spring switch, or not really leaf spring. Well, there's a metal like kind of leaf that kind of comes down and it hits a membrane. At least I think it's a membrane under key switch. Anyways, it's nothing fancy. It's super low tech in terms of its design, and it's not great. It's really scratchy and kind of rough feeling. It doesn't feel all that great. It doesn't sound very good, especially when it's loose. Yeah. It's just, it doesn't feel all that great, to be honest. But by far the worst problem with these switches are the binding. You hit them on the sides. This happens with certain keys more than others. You can kind of hear it a little bit there. But if I go up to here, like the backspace. Okay, it's sometimes it works on certain keys, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, okay, you can really see it there. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't hit these keys like directly kind of in the middle-ish, they pretty much guaranteed to bind. Say the worst case of this is the caps lock key. This whole bottom part is basically unpressable, and it makes me feel like I'm gonna snap off the key stem. Yeah. So overall, would I recommend this keyboard? No. I definitely wouldn't recommend that you go out of your way to get this. If it just happens to like come across your path, like at a thrift store for like very cheap, like I found mine. I found mine for $5, and it came with a Logitech serial mouse. So not the worst deal ever. I only paid a couple bucks for this. But I wouldn't recommend you go out of your way to search for this. You might also ask, can you replace the key switches? The answer is, or like swap them out with like Cherry MX. Answer is, I don't know. From the way it's designed, it doesn't appear that you can, because you'd have to have a whole different circuit board for it, rather than contacts. You'd actually have to have like through-hole solder points, from what I know, to mount Cherry MX switches. So I don't think that would be possible on this keyboard. And honestly, you're just better off finding a different Cherry keyboard that has different switches in it if you want to do that. So, yeah, other than that, the only other thing I want to say is I've often wondered how these would feel lubed. I feel like it might get rid of some of the problems. I feel like the scratchiness would probably go down, and the binding might not be as severe. But I don't have any lube that would really work for this. I might get some eventually and experiment with it. Maybe make a separate video about that. But yeah, if any of you have lubed Cherry MYs, tell me in the comments how they were. If they really make that big of a difference. Because if they do, I will definitely lube these. And I will definitely go get some lube for these. This probably still wouldn't become my main keyboard or anything like that, because I definitely prefer tactile switches over linear. But yeah, so I guess I'll just do a quick typing demonstration or something so you can get a good estimation of the sound that they produce. And I guess that'll be it then. So yeah, man, this is gonna be really hard to type with the tripod away. I'm not even typing real words here. I just kind of gave it up. Is that good enough? I don't know how to do these things. Bye, I guess.